Part 109. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1081. Meng Ping walked back to the office, sat down, and said to Li Gongkang, "Old man, I think so. If there is such a batch of treasures, the best way to get them back is to make a trust plan for your son and his mother." "What do you mean?" Li Gongkang asked. "What's your plan?" "That is to hand over the money, say 100 million, to a trust company and let them manage it. The annual interest will be used to pay for your son's living and medical expenses." "No, no, no," Li Gongkang shouted as soon as he heard this, "I don't want to find any company, this one is not reliable." Meng Ping smiled and said, "Old man, this trust company is not an ordinary company. They are a financial institution approved by the state, just like a bank." "No, I can't even trust the state." "How can I trust a state-approved company? My original factory was still a state-owned enterprise, and it belonged to the state. It didn't mean it was overthrown." Li Gongkang looked at Meng Ping and said earnestly, "I can't trust anyone else, but I trust you, Boss Meng. We are not related, but you are willing to take so much money to save my son. If I don't believe it, who can you trust? Besides, there are good people. Good luck, Boss Meng, you are not much older than my son, I believe you can take care of him to the end." Meng Ping said, "Okay, old man, thank you for trusting me so much. I promise you, then I will take care of them. I promise you that as long as I have a bite to eat, I will not let them go hungry." "Okay, I like hearing this." Li Gongkang laughed and said, "Then let me tell you the password first." "I don't know what the password is for." "You will probably know it when you get there. Just write it down." Meng Ping stood up, took a pen and paper from his desk, and was about to write down the password. When Li Gongkang saw it, he quickly said, "Don't write it down, keep it in your heart. My dad told me that no matter what time, don't write this password out, just keep it in your heart." That's how I leaned into his ear and told him the password. Meng Ping pushed the pen and paper aside and said, "Okay, I won't write." Li Gongkang turned to look at the door, then lowered his voice and said, 17 is positive, 9 is negative, and 22 is positive. Okay, just these three numbers. Meng Ping knew immediately that this was the password for an old-fashioned mechanical combination lock. Meng Ping recited these three numbers silently in his heart. Li Gongkang and Meng Ping were talking about other things, asking where Meng Ping was from, how much it cost to build this building, how many people are in this building now, and how much electricity is used in a day. He asked these questions. Meng Ping felt a little strange about the miscellaneous words, but he still talked to him one by one. The two chatted for more than 10 minutes, and Li Gongkang suddenly asked, "Boss Meng, what are those three numbers?" Meng Ping immediately said, 17 positive, 9 negative, 22 positive. Li Gongkang laughed, "Okay, Boss Meng, it seems that you really remembered it. This is how my father tested me back then. He chatted with me for a long time and suddenly asked me these three numbers." Meng Ping also laughed, thinking, this Li Lejun really has a way, this time, even if he wants to forget it, he can't forget it. Li Gongkang and Meng Ping said that there are still things buried in my hometown of Wuning. Does Boss Meng know that place? Of course Meng Ping knew that Lao Zhu had told him long ago that Li Lejun was from Wuning, Jiangxi, a county below Zhejiang, but he shook his head and said he didn't know. Li Gongkang said, "Just on the edge of Zhejiang, the things are hidden in Huelyuan. Whenever Boss Meng has time, I will take you there to pick it up." Meng Ping said, "Okay, let's do it for these 2 days." Li Gongkang also said, "Yes, I hope Boss Meng will do it as soon as possible. If Boss Meng goes to Switzerland and confirms the existence of this treasure, I will be relieved." When Li Gongkang said this, he smiled bitterly. For more than 80 years, He had always felt that he had no worries. It was only after his death that he realized that he still had such a son. As soon as this person has relatives, these worries will follow. What's the matter? Meng Ping also smiled and said, "Don't worry, old man, looking at your body and bones, there will be no problem at all if you live for another 20 years. Li Gongkong laughed and said, "I don't have any extravagant expectations for 20 years. If I can live to 90, I will be content." Meng Ping asked Xiao Tao and the others to drive Li Gongkong back. He immediately called Xiao Ning into the office and told her all the situation. He almost told her the password, but Xiao Ning stopped him and said, "This is just in case. Only you can know." Finally, I added another sentence, "This is discipline." Meng Ping immediately thought of that night. When he wanted to take things further with her, she also said that it was discipline. But now, we are still together every night and haven't seen each other for several hours. It seems that no one can bear it. Discipline, discipline, the reason why this discipline exists is not to destroy it. Meng Ping said okay. He looked at Xiao Ning and kept laughing. Xiao Ning seemed to understand what he was laughing at and said shyly, "Why are you laughing?" Meng Ping smiled but didn't say anything. Xiao Ning called Lao Cha in front of Meng Ping. When Lao Cha heard this, he couldn't hold back and shouted on the other end of the phone without Lao Cha at all, "Great." He went on to say, "Without further delay, you should take action immediately." Although Li Gongkong is still very strong, at his age, he is afraid of any accident and all his previous efforts will be wasted. Meng Ping and Xiao Ning both agreed, and they decided to go to Wuning immediately the next day. I took a look at the map and related information. It is more than 600 kilometers from Nanjing to Wuning. The road is not very easy to walk. It takes 13 or 4 hours to walk. If I take the train to Zhejiang, I will go to Loxi Township, Wuning County. It is also very inconvenient without a car. Meng Ping, Xiaoning, and Li Gongkong decided to drive from Nanjing. Meng Ping was worried that the journey was too far, but Li Gongkong said it was fine. Why not just sit in the car for more than 10 hours? I could still hold on. Finally, Meng Ping came up with a way to remove the seats in the van and put a sofa in it, so that it would be more comfortable to sit. Meng Ping was still in the van and put a chair and 2 bamboo poles in. Xiao Ning asked what they were doing. Meng Ping said that when they get there, they will be tied up in a sedan chair. Xiao Ning understood. Li Gongkong told them that they had to walk 7 or 8 miles of mountain road to Loxi Township. It might not be bearable for Li Gongkong to climb with them. With this sedan, 2 people can carry him. There were 11 people in their large team. Meng Ping and Xiao Ning were worried that they would need to excavate a large area when they got there, so they took everyone in the company with them in 2 jeeps and a van. The seats in the van were removed. Except for the driver, Xiao Tao was left alone to take care of Li Gongkong in the car. It would take more than 10 hours to walk on the road. It would be too late tomorrow, so we could only advance the departure time and set off that night. They set off from Nanjing at around 8 o'clock, and the journey went smoothly. At around 11 o'clock the next day, they arrived at Wuning County, found a restaurant, and ate lunch in a hurry. From Wuning County to Luo there are still more than 30 kilometers to Zixiang and it takes more than an hour to walk. Their time is still very tight. At around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we finally arrived at Loxi Township. After getting off the car, Li Gongkong pointed to a mountain col in the distance and told Meng Ping, "My home is there." Meng Ping asked, "Do you need to go home and take a look?" Li Gongkong shook his head. He didn't know anyone, the houses were gone, and they were all divided during the land reform. When I came here in the 1970s, I couldn't find a home. When Li Gongkong said this, he looked a little lonely. Next, we were going to walk on the mountain road. Xiao Ning asked a few young men to take the chairs out of the van and tie them to the bamboo poles. Two short pieces of bamboo were tied horizontally to the two ends of the bamboo poles. In this way, the two young men were you can carry Li Gongkang away. Li Gongkang refused to sit down, saying that he could still walk. Meng Ping and Xiaoning insisted on letting him sit down, telling him that he was going now and would have to come back later. How could he survive the mountain road for more than 10 miles? Li Gongkang had no choice but to sit on it. A group of people walked into the mountains together. Fortunately, although Li Gongkang was old, he had a good memory. As soon as he arrived here, he remembered everything. Besides, this world was turned upside down, and it was also a place where people lived. In this big mountain, there were only dozens of people. For hundreds of years, little has changed. Although Li Gongkang looked very confident, Meng Ping and Xiaoning were still a little uneasy. After all, this happened almost longer than the two of them combined. Can Li Gongkang really remember it so clearly? Li Gongkang directed them, but they didn't go the wrong way. At about 2 o'clock, they arrived at Huelyuyan. In front of them was a mountain filled with mason pine and thatch. Li Gongkang pointed them and walked along a dry stream. At the end, there was a huge rock. In the wet season, the water in the stream, it seeps out from under this rock. Li Gongkang said, "This is Calabash Rock." Meng Ping and Xiaoning looked over and saw that the rock really looked like a gourd. They were completely relieved and knew that Li Gongkang was not confused and had not taken it to the wrong place. In my heart, I secretly admired this old man. Walking along the rock wall of Calabash Rock to the left, we walked to the place where the terrain had become upturned and we started to climb up the edge. There were bushes and thorns here. Li Gongkang pointed to a raised rock at a height of one person and said to them, "That's right, right under this stone." A few young men first cut off the bushes and thorns with knives and threw them aside. Then they were about to dig with pickaxes. Li Gongkang quickly stopped them and told them that the things were in a wine jar and they should not break it. The boys immediately switched to war-ready shovels and dug one shovel at a time. Fortunately, the soil here was soft and it was not difficult to dig. They dug down 34 centimeters when the shovel head hit the wine jar and completely covered the area. It expanded bit by bit, and the entire wine jar was exposed. The young men used hand planers to carefully dig out the entire jar, leaving it intact. Li Gongkang looked at the jar, burst into tears, and murmured, that's right, this is it. This is what my father and I buried back then." There was a mud seal on the wine jar. Xiaoning used a knife to remove the mud seal. Below was a jar mouth sealed with a ruo leaf tied with a brown rope. He opened the ruo leaf and put his hand in. Xiaoning took out a piece of oil paper and brown paper from the inside. A bag wrapped tightly with rope. "Uncle Li, is this it?" Xiaoning asked. Li Gongkang nodded and said, "That's it, that's right." "Nothing else?" Xiaoning continued to ask. "No more, only this bag," Li Gongkang said. Xiaoning put her hand into the jar again and slid it around to make sure there was nothing inside. She did not open the oil paper bag, but handed it to Meng Ping and told him to put it away first and then open it when she got back. Meng Ping put the oil paper bag into his satchel. Xiaoning looked at her watch. It was already past 4 o'clock. She said, "Everyone, hurry up and get out of the mountain before dark, otherwise it will be difficult to walk." Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you for your monthly votes from Baiyan and Wind Fantasy. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1082. Meng Ping and Xiaoning arrived at the office and locked the door. Meng Ping took the oil paper bag out of his satchel and placed it on his desk. Meng Ping turned on the desk lamp on his desk, then untied the knot of the brown rope, and wiped off the brown rope one by one, leaving only the oil paper bag. Meng Ping and Xiaoning said, "Come and open it." Xiaoning smiled and understood Meng Ping's intention. She stretched out her hand and opened the oil paper layer by layer. The two of them held their breath and did not dare to let out any air. The last layer of oil paper was opened, and inside was a scroll that looked very old at first glance. The back of the scroll was a little dark, and the upper and lower sides were a little worn. On the edge of the scroll, there was a copper seal, which looked old. Meng Ping he picked up the seal and looked at it. It was written in seal script. Neither Meng Ping nor Xiaoning recognized it. They could only vaguely recognize the word Zhu. Xiaoning carefully opened the scroll. Inside was a blue and yellow silk scroll with the 4 words Feng Tian Jia Ming embroidered on the right-hand side and 57 years of Jianwen embroidered on the left-hand side. It seems that the lifespan of Emperor Jianwen Zhu Yunwen was not short among the emperors of the Ming dynasty. The edict begins with the words "Blessed by heaven, the emperor's edict." The content is written in regular script, with neat and regular fonts, concise and smooth writing. The end is stamped with the square seal of the royal edict treasure. The edict was issued in May of the 57th year of Jianwen's reign. 21 days. Meng Ping turned around and opened the safe, and took out the photo of the edict from it. The two of them compared it and confirmed that it was correct. Yes, this is what they were looking for. The existence of this edict and the seal proves that France, what the old overseas Chinese said to our ambassador to France, is correct. The two looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Meng Ping hugged Xiaoning and the two kissed. Meng Ping wanted to continue, but Xiaoning broke away and said, "It stinks all over." After a while, Xiaoning blushed and said to Meng Ping, "If you want it, just put it away quickly and we will go back." Meng Ping quickly put everything into the safe. Over there, Xiaoning was already calling Lao Cha to tell him that everything had been received and confirmed. Xiaoning came over and put the phone to Meng Ping's ear. Meng Ping said, "It was me." Lao Cha and Meng Ping said, "Thank you for your hard work, Lao Meng, then you have to hurry up and go to the Swiss Consulate General in Shanghai to apply for a visa tomorrow. Once it is done, you can meet me in Shenzhen." Meng Ping said yes. After Meng Ping's visa is approved, he will go to Shenzhen soon to meet Lao Cha. The two of them were really going to be separated for a long time this time. Meng Ping and Xiaoning were very reluctant to part with each other. Xiaoning asked Meng Ping, "If you think about it this way, you may not have come back from the land auction yet. Do you want that piece of land or not?" Meng Ping said yes. "On that day, you go to the auction site to help me take the auction. I will contact you then. No matter how much it costs, you can get this piece of land for me. You have gone through the procedures for me. How much is the transfer fee? After the auction is over, I will have someone pay the money directly to the account of the Land Collection and Storage Center." Xiaoning said yes. Meng Ping remembered that to carry out these procedures, a letter of authorization was required. The transfer of signing rights within the company also required a letter of authorization. Otherwise, during his business trip, all necessary expenses in the company would not be able to go out, and no one would even need to reimburse him. Reimbursed. Meng Ping took out a pen and paper and wrote an authorization letter, authorizing Xiaoning to be responsible for all matters of the company during his business trip. He told Xiaoning that you can show this to the auction center when the time comes and you can go through the formalities. Xiaoning put the authorization letter away and sat there glumly. Meng Ping asked her what was wrong. Xiaoning said, "Lao Meng, before you and Lao Cha come back, we are afraid of causing trouble. We will continue to stay here to stabilize Li Gongkong, but, when you come back, this entire mission will be over." "Yeah, so what?" Meng Ping asked. "Oh, idiot, the mission is over, I'm going back," Xiaoning said. "No longer in Nanjing." "Of course we are still in Nanjing, but when we go back, it will not be so easy for us to meet again," Xiaoning said, her eyes turning red. Meng Ping also understood. The two of them seemed to be very familiar together, so familiar that Meng Ping could tell if it was her by listening to her footsteps, but in fact, they were still two strangers. Meng Ping has never asked Xiaoning. He knows that her identity is sensitive, and there are some things that he would not say to her if he asks her. But he can't even ask some questions, such as whether she has a home or children. He never asked. And she had never asked him these questions. Both of them seemed to be avoiding it very carefully, as if as long as they avoided it, this problem would not exist, it would not become a problem between them, and they could be together forever. But they know vaguely in their hearts that they are destined not to go far. At least, as long as these problems still exist, they will not go far. The day they break up is destined to come. When this day comes, all this seems unnecessary. Asked. Meng Ping was unwilling. He told Xiaoning, "Don't be afraid. As long as you are still in Nanjing, nothing can stop us from meeting. Even if you are not in Nanjing, I will find a way to find you. When I come back, we will discuss it again okay?" Xiaoning said yeah and lowered his head. Meng Ping arrived in Shenzhen. On the phone, Lao Cha told him, sorry, Lao Meng, I just have something to do and can't leave. I can't pick you up. Can you take a taxi yourself?" Meng Ping said yes, what a big deal. He looked for it according to the business card that Lao Cha left for him, and actually found the company. He took the elevator up and entered Lao Cha's company. The company looked normal and everyone was busy. Meng Ping entered Lao Cha's office. When Lao Cha saw him, he stood up, came over, shook hands with him, and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Lao Meng." Meng Ping smiled and said, "It's not hard work, as long as there are results." That's right, that's right. Lao Cha said. Lao Cha and Meng Ping said, "Lao Meng, you may have arrived early and need to wait in Shenzhen for 3 days. What's wrong?" Meng Ping asked. "There is one from Beijing, Xiao Shen. He is going with us this time and is also a translator. The little guy is not sensible. He thought that his visa is the same as before and he can get it when he goes there. He forgets that he is applying for an ordinary visa this time. To wait for. When he called me earlier, you were already in the sky. I thought forget it. You don't have to fly back and forth. You are just in Shenzhen. Have a good rest for 3 days. When he arrives, we will leave from Hong Kong. Hong Kong has direct flights to Zurich." Lao Cha said. Meng Ping nodded and said, "Just wait, I have nothing to do anyway." But in my heart, I was cursing that unscrupulous Xiao Shen whom I had never met before. Damn it! If I had known this, I could have stayed in Nanjing for 3 more days. I could have stayed with Xiaoning for 70 more years. It's been 2 hours. Meng Ping really wanted to get up from here and go straight to the airport to return to Nanjing, but he knew in his heart that such a move was too strange. As smart as Lao Cha, he might be able to guess right away his relationship with Xiaoning and why he was so eager to go back. Lao Cha pressed the speakerphone button, dialed 3 more numbers, and said to the person inside, "Come here." After a while, a very beautiful girl walked in. Lao Cha told her, "Take Lao Meng to the hotel and, by the way, arrange your life for the next few days." The girl said yes, Mr. Cha. Lao Cha and Meng Ping said, "Lao Meng, you go to the hotel to rest first, and we will have dinner together in the evening." Meng Ping said yes. Meng Ping followed the girl downstairs, and the girl drove her car and took him to the Shangri-La Hotel. Meng Ping was arranged to stay, and the girl also stayed in the room opposite. The girl asked, "Mr. Meng, what do you need these days?" Meng Ping said there was no need and he could just sleep in the room every day. The girl giggled and said, "If Mr. Meng sleeps in the room every day, then I will be fired by Mr. Cha and go home to sleep." Meng Ping smiled and said, "Then do I have to do something to prevent you from being expelled?" The girl put her hands behind her back, looked at him, and said seriously, "Yes." Meng Ping said, "I really don't know what to do." The girl said, "Maybe we drive and go to Hong Kong?" Meng Ping said, "Yes, guests can do whatever they want, and I will say yes to whatever you say." The girl giggled, "Mr. Meng, you are so easy to deal with." Meng Ping also smiled. In the evening, Lao Cha came, and the three of them had dinner together. While the girl was going to the bathroom, Meng Ping said, "Lao Cha, what are you doing? What happened to this girl? Why, you don't like her, you think she's not pretty enough?" Lao Cha said with a smile, "I want you to be treated like this, but if it's not enough, this person is sent to protect you from above, why don't you try her skills? And you tell me, Lao Meng, you carry such an important thing with you, do you think you can act alone?" Meng Ping was stunned for a moment, and then he realized what was going on. In Nanjing, Xiao Ning was always beside him until he was sent through the security check and arrived here. Meng Ping said, "No, Lao Cha, I came here from the airport alone." Lao Jia smiled slightly, took a sip of wine, reported a taxi number, and said to Meng Ping, "You are taking this taxi." The driver is a middle-aged man in his 40s, slightly fat, with a Henan accent. "Is it right?" Meng Ping was shocked and shouted, "Why, is that one of yours too?" "Of course, I didn't pick you up because I didn't want to attract attention, but we have someone to pick you up." As Lao Cha said, Meng Ping broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he did not rush back to Nanjing on impulse, otherwise he would have harmed Xiao Ning as well. After the three of them finished eating, Lao Cha left. Meng Ping took the initiative to tell the girl, "We won't go to Hong Kong tomorrow. Since we all know each other's identity, why go to Hong Kong? Isn't this just looking for trouble?" Meng Ping thought. "Then why are you just staying here?" the girl asked. Meng Ping nodded and said yes. He stopped running around. "Okay then," the girl smiled, "then I'll find something for you to do." The two of them went to the KTV. The girl asked her mother to bring the little girl in. She must let Meng Ping pick one, so Meng Ping picked one. The little girl told Meng Ping that her name was Yan Yan. After the three of them finished singing, the girl said to Yan Yan, "Come with us," and Yan Yan said yes. The girl took them out for a late-night snack. When she came back, she walked to the door of the room. Meng Ping opened the door. The girl told Yan Yan that you should sleep in that room at night. Yan Yan agreed and followed Meng Ping into the room. Ping was too lazy to refuse. He didn't even know if this Yan Yan was also sent. Meng Ping took his cell phone and entered the bathroom. He wanted to call Xiao Ning, but when he thought that his phone was probably being monitored, he gave up his plan to contact Xiao Ning or even Jian Fang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1083. Meng Ping and the others stayed in Shangri-La for 4 nights. Every day, the person named Yan Yan came to accompany Meng Ping. Meng Ping had a knot in his heart. He didn't know what he said and whether the other person would know it in the blink of an eye. So he almost always I haven't said anything to Yan Yan, and I haven't called anyone. Yan Yan looked at Meng Ping and thought he was weird. Even if he didn't like her, he wouldn't change her. Every morning, when Meng Ping wakes up, Yan Yan is gone. At noon on the 4th day, the little girl across the street knocked on Meng Ping's door and said to him, "Mr. Meng, let's go." "Where to go?" Meng Ping asked. "Let's go to the company," the girl giggled. "Why, Mr. Meng is reluctant to leave." After getting in the car and driving to the company, Meng Ping sat in the passenger seat and looked at the little girl driving. Then he remembered that although they had been together for 4 days, he didn't even know her last name. Meng Ping wanted to ask after thinking about it, he thought that if he asked now, he would probably get a fake name. Meng Ping arrived at Lao Cha's company and entered Lao Cha's office. He saw a young man sitting there. When Meng Ping came in, he stood up. Lao Cha introduced them to them and told Meng Ping that this is Xiao Shen. Xiao Shen just came from Beijing in the morning. Lao Cha said to Xiao Shen again, "This is Mr. Meng I introduced to you earlier." Xiao Shen shook hands with Meng Ping warmly and said to him, "I'm sorry, Mr. Meng, because of me, you were delayed in Shenzhen for several days." Meng Ping said it was okay, and Lao Cha was right. He just needed a few days of rest. To be honest, I felt a lot of pressure some time ago. Lao Cha and Xiao Shen both laughed. Lao Cha asked Meng Ping, had he brought all his luggage? Meng Ping said he had brought it. "Okay, let's go to Hong Kong in the afternoon and take a flight to Zurich tomorrow morning," Lao Cha said. Meng Ping said yes. The three people were talking when the door was knocked open with a bang. It was the little girl. When Lao Jia was about to curse, the little girl shouted urgently, "Mr. Cha! Mr. Cha!" Lao Cha looked behind her and his face turned pale instantly. Meng Ping saw from the open door that the police from the brigade were walking in, and the leader shouted, "We are from the Criminal Investigation Detachment of the XX branch of the Shenzhen Public Security Bureau. Everyone, stand up and stay still." Then a policeman came in and asked, "Who is Meng Ping?" Meng Ping raised his hand and said, "I am." "Your ID please." Meng Ping handed his ID card to the police. The police looked at it and said, "Stay aside and come with us later to assist us in the investigation." Meng Ping said okay. Lao Cha and Xiao Shen were immediately handcuffed and taken out. The other people in the company were also lined up and taken out. To Meng Ping's surprise, he saw the police coming out of one of the closed doors. Li Gongkong and Zhao Jinhua were escorted out of his office. Meng Ping followed the police downstairs. He saw Lao Cha and the others being escorted into two police buses. He was asked by the police to get into a small car. When he arrived at the XX Public Security Bureau, Meng Ping told the police exactly what happened, and also handed over the edict and the copper seal to the police. Meng Ping asked, "What on earth is going on?" The police and Meng Ping said that they were playing a big game. "The Li Gongkong you mentioned is actually 72 years old. He is the son of Li Lejun here, the son of Huang Xing elsewhere, and Sun Yat-sen elsewhere. Sun K's younger brother." Just this thing. The policeman pointed to the edict and copper seal on the table and said, "They made a batch and buried it in more than a dozen places across the country. Their method of committing crimes is similar to what you said. They first go through your acquaintances. An acquaintance of yours will introduce you to your acquaintance, and then your acquaintance will introduce it to you, and this acquaintance must be convincing to you, so that you will not doubt it." Another policeman told Meng Ping, "We have noticed this fraud group for a long time. We have been waiting for more evidence and then closed the network. Today the Nanjing police took action and notified us, so we took action immediately." Meng Ping's heart trembled, and he asked, "Are you saying that those people in Nanjing are all part of their group?" Meng Ping lamented in his heart, "So Xiaoning is the same?" Meng Ping asked, "Even the patient who lives in Gilu Hospital and has liver cancer?" The policeman laughed, "Have you seen this man?" Meng Ping was stunned for a moment, and then he remembered that he had always thought this person existed, but he had never seen him before. The closest he got was when he was outside the operating room and he was in the operating room. The police and Meng Ping said that no one was operating in the operating room at that time. Meng Ping was still puzzled. He asked the police, "If they are a fraud group, what are they trying to do? It seems that they didn't defraud a penny from me, and they also put 5 million into my account. Such a fraud, they are not loss. That's how cunning they are and why their scams are so successful. They're using small amounts of money to make big money. However, even though all my big money has been transferred, it's impossible for them to get it. By the way, they were the ones who reminded me and asked me to transfer the money, Meng Ping said. The two policemen looked at each other, laughed, and one of them said, "We can only tell you that the Nanjing police are investigating the matter in Nanjing. The evidence is conclusive and he has been arrested. Comrade Meng, if it is convenient for you, can you stay in Shenzhen for another 2 days so that we can have further information? Need to verify with you." Meng Ping said, "Okay, just call me." Meng Ping left the Public Security Bureau, feeling weak all over. What the hell was going on? This face was so humming embarrassing. Meng Ping sat down on the steps in front of the Public Security Bureau. He picked up his mobile phone and dialed Qian Fang's number. As soon as the call came through, Qian Fang cursed angrily. "Pig, don't call me. I don't care whether you live or die. Just die in Shenzhen or Switzerland." After Qian Fang finished cursing, she hung up the phone. Meng Ping shook his head and sighed. Meng Ping called Lao Zhu's office, but no one answered the phone. Meng Ping thought about it and called Li Yang, and then he understood the whole story. It turned out that night at Dulao Fang, Li Yang heard Meng Ping say that his company was planning to recruit people, and what he said, he felt strange. There was no leader, and he needed to borrow the shell of a company to do something. Borrowing a shell and asking you to step back while he arranges for someone to come by himself. If he really wants to do something shameful, you should be in front to help him while he hides in the back. Li Yang felt that there were too many unreasonable things here, so he decided to find out. He followed Meng Ping and Xiaoning. After Xiaoning left Meng Ping's company or broke up with Meng Ping, he followed Xiaoning and found that she was living in a hotel in Ziyuan, where they had a large group of people. After Meng Ping's company hired people, Li Yang discovered that these people were the same people who stayed in the same hotel as Xiaoning. Li Yang immediately understood that things were complicated. He called his little brothers and asked them to track everyone. It turned out that these people were picked up by a van from that hotel every morning. Finally, they were sent to a place a block away from Meng Ping's building, and everyone got off the car and walked separately. Every evening, they were picked up from there and taken back to the hotel together. They seemed to be an organization, working together to divide the work. There was also an old man and an old woman among them. Li Yang went to the hotel to ask, and the front desk told him that these people seemed to be from Shenzhen and had been staying for a long time. Li Yang and the others discovered that Xiaoning also drove an Audi with a military license plate. Li Yang found out through friends in the army that the license plate was fake. The real license plate number belonged to a Beijing Jeep. This made it even more certain. They are planning something evil. On the day Meng Ping and others went to Jiangxi, Li Yang followed Meng Ping outside the city and did not follow them again. He felt that no matter what they wanted to do, it would definitely happen in Nanjing and not elsewhere. Li Yang knew that Meng Ping had no money in his account. Li Yang realized something was wrong, so he told Qian Fang and the others. They were shocked and immediately wanted to find Meng Ping. Li Yang stopped them quickly and told them that they still don't know what they want to do, and there is no evidence if they are caught. Don't worry, my people are watching them, and we will know what they do. Qian Fang and the others also thought it made sense. Qian Fang and Ye Yulan said, if Lao Meng asks you to pay, you won't pay a cent. Ye Yulan agreed, and Su Jiaking asked, then do you want to say hello to Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan? Cao Zia he was right, Xiao wouldn't fight here, Lao Meng would ask them to fight. Qian Fang thought for a moment and said, no, let's save some face for Lao Meng. If he wants money, he will definitely call Xiao first. If Xiao doesn't transfer, he will call Mr. Zhang and Zhangzi. Would Meng, a man like him, ask others to borrow money if he doesn't need it? The other people nodded, feeling that what Qian Fang said made sense. Qian Fang and Ye Yulan said, if Lao Meng calls you, don't refuse immediately, but tell him that you go and hold him down immediately, and then we call Mr. Zhang and Zhuangzi. Ye Yulan said yes. But such a thing has never happened. Meng Ping has never asked Ye Yulan to call. Moreover, his company has been running, as if there is really other money coming in. Ye Yulan checked with an acquaintance in the bank. It was true that on the day Meng Ping transferred all the money, 5 million was transferred from a company in Shenzhen. Meng Ping's company indeed still had money. As a result, even Li Yang and Qianfang were confused. They didn't know what was going on. Could it be that the people currently in Meng Ping's company were really arranged by the leaders as Meng Ping said? And the reason why people need to be transferred from Shenzhen is because no one in Nanjing knows them, so it is more convenient? Otherwise, what are these people trying to do with their money and support? Meng Ping and the others went to Jiangxi. Li Yang followed him outside the city but did not continue. When he came back, he was scolded by Su Jiaking. Su Jiaking said, "Are you a pig? They deceived Lao Meng out of the city and must have kidnapped him. Why didn't you follow them?" Li Yang and Qianfang were shocked when they heard this, and thought it made sense. Now everyone was really frightened. Fortunately, Li Yang remembered the license plates of the 3 cars and checked them through his friends. They were from a car rental agency. He found his friend at the car rental agency overnight and found that the people who came to rent the cars had registered at the hotel in Xiaguan. Everyone felt relieved. No kidnapper would be so stupid as to rent a car using his real name and not even cover the license plate. Li Yang told his friends at the car rental agency that when they come to return the car, don't tell them that we came to check the car. My friends said yes, what a big deal. Several people were anxious all night, but did not receive a call for ransom. At noon the next day, Li Yang's little brother called Li Yang and said that they were back, and everyone was relieved. When Meng Ping returned to Nanjing, Li Yang, Qianfang and the others were even more confused, and they didn't know what these people were going to do. "Keep staring," Qianfang and Li Yang said. Li Yang said yes. "Thank you for the reward from reading books and doll tin soldiers every day. Thank you for your monthly vote from the Humor Tribe. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1084. When Meng Ping left Nanjing for Shenzhen, Li Yang and the others paid even closer attention. This had never happened before Meng Ping. Even if he decided to go to Hangzhou on the spur of the moment, he would call Qianfang on the way to tell him, "Don't leave," said it was so far to go to Shenzhen. Li Yang and Qianfang felt that if there was something fishy in this, what the hell those people were going to do would be in the days after Meng Ping left Nanjing. So although Meng Ping was not in Nanjing, Li Yang and the others were staring at Meng Ping's company even more closely. The day after Meng Ping left, they saw Xiaoning and the others picking up 2 people from the airport. They walked around in Meng Ping's building and then went to the housing authority. Li Yang suddenly realized what they were going to do, and he quickly called Qianfang, the others, and his little brothers over. When Xiaoning and the 2 people were in the lobby of the housing authority, preparing to go through the property pledge procedures, Li Yang and the others blocked them and called the police at the same time. Those 2 people were from a financial institution in Shenzhen, and they were always investigating. I applied for a loan of 1.8 billion with them, using Meng Ping's 5-story shopping mall as a third-party pledge. When they arrived at the Public Security Bureau, Xiaoning and the others were frightened and immediately revealed all their deceptions. All their accomplices in Nanjing were caught by the police. The Nanjing police reported the situation to Shenzhen. The police reported that Xiaoning was asked to call Lao Cha and tell him that the procedures had been completed and to stabilize him. After receiving a call from Xiaoning, Lao Cha called the Ant Lang to bring Meng Ping over and prepare to go to Hong Kong. He knows that the procedures have been completed and their conspiracy has succeeded. "Why does he still want to take me to Hong Kong?" Meng Ping asked. "Not only went to Hong Kong, but also to Switzerland. When I arrived in Switzerland, I found out that this was a fake thing. You couldn't blame Lao Cha. You were the one who did it. You could only say that you were tricked by Li Gongkang, or rather by someone else. That French entourage deceived me. What can you do? When you come back, the money of 1.8 billion will have been withdrawn by them. Li Yang and Meng Ping said. Meng Ping broke out in a cold sweat and asked, then why do you want me to stay in Shenzhen for 3 days instead of leaving directly? What if there are still some missing procedures here? They don't need to plan and ask you to come back to make up for them, Li Yang said. The woman told him that all the procedures were completed, so he thought it was no problem and wanted to take you out immediately. They transfer money to free up time. I know their company, so they're not afraid that I'll call the police when I come back, Meng Ping asked. What's the use of you coming back? The rice has already been cooked. The subject of the loan is not a company named Cha and has nothing to do with him. How can you prove that he is related to this matter? Li Yang asked. Meng Ping was speechless for a moment, and Li Yang continued. Also, they have used your company's official seal and your legal person seal to sign an agreement with the loan company in Shenzhen. The content of the agreement is that you use your property rights certificate to make a third-party pledge for them, and they give them 5 million for your benefits. Meng Ping shouted, 5 million, I will pledge it to them. Even a fool won't believe it, right? Why don't you believe it? Then how do you explain the 5 million? They called me 5 million and you have already started to use it. Every transaction was signed by you. You said you don't know what the 5 million is, Li Yang smiled and said, don't cause trouble, Lao Meng, there is another matter. I will beat you to death with one blow on the head. What's going on? Meng Ping asked. What did you do with that woman? If people say she is your lover, you can't deny it, right? They may have left evidence that she is your lover. Is it reasonable for you to give her as a pledge? For a man to what can't a woman do? Meng Ping not only broke out in a cold sweat, he felt that his entire back was soaked. If this matter hadn't been caught, in hindsight, it would have been a civil lawsuit at most, not even a criminal case. Even if you report the case here, there is no evidence at all. All the evidence there is complete. If you open the door of your company completely and invite others to come in, aren't they allowed to do whatever they want? Li Yang said. Meng Ping thought it was true. He thought that after all the money was transferred, there would be only a shell company left. Unexpectedly, they didn't come for your money from the beginning. No matter, it was Xiaoning, the boss. Both the manager and Xiao Tao's accountant were recruited by themselves. All the company's certificates and a complete set of seals are locked in the accountant's safe. I also wrote an authorization letter. The authorization letter covers all matters related to the company, including the authorization to pledge the company's assets. If someone does it, it will be a work mistake at most. You can fire a general manager or fire him. An accountant can also hold them accountable for the losses caused by their work errors. This lawsuit has been filed in some cases. If he hadn't been caught and had gone to the Public Security Bureau, people would have panicked and immediately admitted it was a fraud. Li Yang was right, and he might really have no tricks at all. Including the matter of Li Gongkang, as long as Li Gongkang and Zhao Jinhua disappear, it will be a fantasy story to whomever you tell them. Who will believe you? Even if they have not disappeared, how can you connect these two things together? Together, prove that they are related? You told the police that the reason why you hired so many people in the company was to make the company look like a normal company, and to defraud Li Gongkang's trust. Yes, Li Gongkang also trusted you, and he also took you to dig. You came back with so much garbage, but people never told you. Is this true? As for the matter of Zhu Yunwen and Li Lijun, it was not someone who told you, it was Lao Zhu who told you. Even if someone told you, you can deny it completely. As soon as the person came to your office and told you, he didn't know whether it was true or not. In the end, you deduced it yourself and concluded that it was true. It even includes Lao Cha's identity. You said that the person who deceived you was the central office. As for the evidence, didn't they give you a business card, but it turned out that the card was genuine? How do you explain it? Meng Ping felt that the situation designed by the other party was too powerful. It could be said that it would make him passive in every aspect. As long as he was not caught, and as long as the other party's own people did not tell the truth, it could be said that Meng Ping would not be able to argue. Lao Meng, are you still here? Li Yang asked. Meng Ping said yes. I didn't tell Qian Fang about that woman. You know it yourself. If she knew, she would tiptoe off, Li Yang said. Okay, I understand. By the way, how is the company now? Meng Ping asked. The police here want my cooperation. It may take 2 days before I can go back. It's okay. Xiao and Cao Ziahe are there. There's nothing wrong in the company, Li Yang said. Okay, Meng Ping breathed a sigh of relief. Ya Yulan and Cao Ziahe were in his company, so he could rest assured. Lao Meng, remember, don't admit it until you die, otherwise I will die too, Li Yang said and hung up the phone. Meng Ping sat there blankly. People going up and down the steps were looking at him. Look, let's look. Meng Ping said in his heart, come and see this idiot. That woman, Meng Ping also thought of that woman. Meng Ping had to admire Lao Cha. How did he know that beautiful women were ineffective on him, but such a woman would leave him helpless? Including eating in Shangri-La, his few words were also nonsense. He said that the little girl was sent to protect him from above, but with just these few words, it was as if he had cast a body immobilizing spell, allowing himself to be imprisoned. Obediently did not dare to act rashly. Meng Ping felt that this guy was so powerful. If possible, he would like to meet him and have a calm chat. How did you defeat me and make me become a big idiot step by step? Meng Ping couldn't help laughing when he thought of this. He wanted to tell other people about this, and tell Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan whether they could laugh for a few years. Look, this idiot. Meng Ping stood up, walked to the steps below, and stood on the side of the road. Before he could recover, he saw a taxi parked in front of him and said, let's go. Meng Ping got into the car without thinking. The other party asked him where he was going. Meng Ping said Shangri-La. After speaking, Meng Ping looked at the driver. He was middle-aged, slightly fat, and had a Henan accent. Isn't this the person Lao Jia was talking about? Meng Ping couldn't help but laugh again. Thinking about it now, everything is a very small thing. For example, they knew that he wanted to follow Li Gongkang, so let's call him Li Gongkang, otherwise, he wouldn't know his name. Then he let him go and go. In fact, Li Gongkang was observing him and saw him smoking with the old man. Standing on the bridge, he saw him giving the old man half a pack of cigarettes. When he arrived at the market, he saw him eating noodles. Li Gongkang, after coming out of the vegetable market, he carried the vegetables and entered an old community. After he finished eating the noodles and left, the others must have left too. But he had already determined that Li Gongkang's home was there. After Lao Cha told him about it again, he felt it was amazing. He felt that they had really laid a dragnet around Li Gongkang. Then Xiao Ning appeared. It was the same when I went to Gilu Hospital. First I answered the phone in front of him, and then someone came to talk to him, and then Xiao Tao came to talk to him, and I believed that there was really a patient there. It's even easier when you get to Shenzhen. You just need to send someone to the gate below to see which car he gets off. But when Lao Cha said all these simple things, Meng Ping was taken aback. When Meng Ping arrived at the Shangri-La Hotel, he checked into the room he had stayed in last night. After dinner, he went to the KTV. When he arrived at the KTV, he asked his mother to bring his little sister over. No, he had to change the group. When the batch was changed to the third batch, Meng Ping's eyes lit up and he saw Yan Yan. This was the person he was looking for. Yanyan also smiled when she saw him. Meng Ping quickly called her over. Yanyan was still there, which meant that he had finally met someone who was not one of them. Meng Ping asked Yanyan, "Do you know the little girl last night?" "Which little girl?" Yanyan asked. "The one with us." "I don't know him." Yanyan shook her head, and then asked curiously, "You don't know me either?" Meng Ping said, "I don't know him." "How can you be together if I don't know you?" Yanyan was even more curious. Meng Ping smiled and said, "I still want to ask you. I don't know why you listen to her so much, as if she is your leader." Yanyan also smiled and said, "She gives a lot of money. We have introduced here, 2,000 per person, she gives 4,000. Meng Ping understood, no wonder. "By the way, did she want you to keep an eye on me, listen to what I'm saying, and who to call?" Meng Ping asked. "No, she just asked me to accompany you." Meng Ping sighed. It seemed like that little girl was already convinced, haha. "Do you think I look like a fool?" Meng Ping asked Yanyan. Yanyan stared at him and smiled, "It's a bit like it." "Thanks for the tip. I don't know whoever asked, but I ranked third from top to bottom, and 131 on the shore." "Thank you." Quiet room. Book friends 201807201259208875. Book friends 201811110150453780 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1085. Meng Ping stayed in Shenzhen for another 2 days, went to the Public Security Bureau once, and supplemented the transcript. He also allowed himself to calm down slowly. Lao Zhu called Meng Ping and told him, Lao Meng, I really didn't expect that this guy would be a liar. The Public Security Bureau came to find me at work. I was shocked. This guy is so embarrassing. I was arrested personally, and the police took notes and took my fingerprints. I've recorded it twice, and my fingers are almost swollen from pressing it, Meng Ping said. Lao Zhu smiled and said, "Then you are a little worse off than me. Saying this makes me feel comfortable. I often walk by the river, and how can I not get my shoes wet?" As the old man said, the enemy will not automatically withdraw from the stage of history. Lao Meng, you said that by doing this, are we also helping the police to dig out a cancer in society? You, Meng Ping scolded, where is that classmate of yours who is doing better than you, in the political research office, and in the sea? I also scolded him. He said that he didn't know that he also met at a dinner table. I didn't expect that today's liars are so courageous. Even someone like him would dare to lie to him. What the hell, nothing happened. Meng Ping laughed. Meng Ping said, Lao Meng, can be forgiven for being deceived. I was asked to arrange the 24 histories, but I couldn't make it. People like you from Fudan's history department will be fooled by Ma Sanbao and Zhu Yunwen. It would be an insult to the master to lie to someone with such nonsense, right? Okay, let's reflect on it. I'll reflect on it. I still have blind spots in knowledge. Lao Zhu shouted on the phone. In Nanjing, 2 days later, Qian Fang's anger had subsided a little. She called Meng Ping and asked, "Is that land opposite yours the one you want to bid for, or are they just signing it for fun?" Meng Ping said, "This is indeed the place I want to sign up for." "What do you want this land for?" Qian Fang asked. "For the second phase." "Do you think that Jinling Hotel is still the first brand in Nanjing?" Meng Ping asked rhetorically. "Of course, you think it's you. What if I take this land and go to Jinling Hotel to discuss cooperation?" Meng Ping asked. "How to cooperate? This Jinling Hotel doesn't need a new building, a new Jinling Hotel." Qian Fang thought for a moment, sighed again, and said, "Okay, it's time for you to come back, the auction is about to begin." "Okay, I just finished filling in the transcript here, and I originally wanted to go back in the evening. When Meng Ping said this last sentence, he was already a bit flattering. After hanging up the phone, Meng Ping let out a long breath. Li Yang was right. Fortunately, Qian Fang didn't know Xiaoning yet. Alas, he didn't know if her name was Xiaoning. She didn't know about that woman, otherwise, Qian Fang will tiptoe off. Thinking about it again at this time, Meng Ping felt a little sorry for Qian Fang. Although he knew that it was impossible for them to be together and big things would happen if they were together, but for so many years, the two of them were very strange, as if they were guarding each other. Pure, Qian Fang has almost no contact with any men, and Meng Ping has never been very interested in women. Occasionally, there were a few social events and some fun with the leader, but that was done without hesitation. As long as he didn't go astray, Meng Ping felt that it was not a betrayal. But this time, he had to admit that he had indeed gone astray. This time, the balance and confrontation between himself and Qian Fang had already been broken by Meng Ping. Qian Fang was the one who was kept in the dark. Thinking about it this way, Meng Ping felt that he had bullied her a little too much, and he felt particularly guilty. Meng Ping packed up his things and went to Shenzhen Airport. In January last year, Shenzhen Airport had just been renamed Shenzhen Huangtian International Airport with the approval of the Civil Aviation Administration of China. As soon as the name was changed, there was a lot of curses, because in Hokkien and Chaozhou dialect, the pronunciations of Huangtian and Huangquan are too close. What's the point of flying to Huangquan? Everyone feels that the life of the name Huangtian International Airport will definitely not be long. Sooner or later it will have to be changed. Changing the name of the airport is no different from others. It requires a lot of effort. If you change it here, ICAO all member states must change it, and all civil aviation and flight systems must change, otherwise the planes will not know where to fly. Isn't this just a fool's errand? What Meng Ping bought was a flight from Shenzhen to Nanjing at 4:50 p.m. When Meng Ping arrived at the airport, it was not even there at 2 o'clock. He simply went to a restaurant, ordered a few dishes, and ordered 2 cans of 7-Up. I ate my lunch slowly. While eating lunch, I thought about my trip to Shenzhen and Wuning. I felt ridiculous, like I was playing house, and I couldn't help but laugh again. But when he thought of that woman and those nights, Meng Ping felt a little sad. How could she be a liar? If she wasn't a liar, how great would it be? If they met on another occasion, if she had become a liar before, when they encounter themselves, will sparks fly between them and keep going? She probably doesn't need to be a liar anymore, right? How much money can you make as a liar? But if you are not a liar, they will not even know each other. There are so many women on the street. How do you know which woman you come into contact with is not a rich mine, and the deeper you get, the more beautiful you are? While thinking this way, Meng Ping thought of Qian Fang again. Is Qian Fang becoming more and more beautiful as she gets deeper? But when he discovered her beauty, he was intimidated and had no choice but to hold back. Meng Ping looked at the people passing by outside the restaurant and the few guests in the restaurant. He thought, how great it would be if people were transparent. You could tell who is suitable for whom at a glance, and you can speed date. Unlike this, there is a skin on the outside, clothes on the outside of the skin, and camouflage on the outside of the clothes, making it unpredictable. But if all people were transparent, then their interest in others would probably disappear, right? After everything becomes simple, everything becomes boring. Just like making money, when you have no money, you make 100, 1,000, or 10,000. How exciting it is! When they sold the first piece of land in Haikan, they made hundreds of thousands. That sense of accomplishment and excitement was something he couldn't get even after selling a building and making hundreds of millions. When making money becomes easy, it becomes boring. Meng Ping admires people like Li Ka-shing, who is already in his 70s and 80s, has enough money, and is buried up to his neck every day, making him almost breathless, but he still has to make money every day, which is probably when he is not bored. Mengping, can't do it. Simple things will make me, Mengping, feel bored and have no passion. There's nothing I can do about it. Mengping sat there alone for more than an hour. He sat there until 3 o'clock, then got up, dragged his suitcase, went through the check-in formalities, checked the suitcase, and then passed the security check. Go to the first-class lounge to relax. As soon as he entered the lounge, Mengping laughed. He saw a person inside, eating instant noodles. The rest room was filled with the smell of instant noodles. The other passengers and waiters all frowned. He frowned and sneered at him. But he didn't care. He sat there and purred, eating with relish, and wiping the sweat on his forehead with a tissue from time to time. Mengping walked over and stood beside him. The noodle eater saw a figure falling down and his noodles were covered in his shadow. This affected his appetite. He liked to eat instant noodles in plenty of light. He raised his head with some annoyance, took a look, immediately threw away the plastic fork in his hand, and shouted, "Lao Meng, what a coincidence. Unfortunately, I just came over when I saw you," Mengping said. The noodle eater was Lao Ni. Lao Ni laughed loudly, called to the waiter, removed the bucket of noodles that he had not finished, and asked Mengping to sit down. Lao Ni asked Mengping, "Where are you going?" Mengping said, "Go back to Nanjing." Lao Ni, "Where are you going?" "Back to Hangzhou." Lao Ni waved his hand quickly, "If you don't go back, I will go back to Nanjing. Isn't this a coincidence?" Lao Ni asked Mengping, "What are you doing in Shenzhen?" Mengping said a little embarrassedly, "Nothing happened, just passing by." "Aren't you passing by?" "I was originally going to go to Hong Kong and then Zurich from here." "Old Ni, what are you doing in Shenzhen?" Mengping asked. "I was passing by too. I was in Xi'an in the morning," Lao Ni said. "Isn't this a coincidence again?" The two of them sat and chatted until the waiter came to invite them to board the plane. On this flight to Nanjing, there were not many first-class passengers, only the two of them. When boarding the plane, Mengping felt a little strange and a little angry. There were two flight attendants standing at the door of the cabin. When one of them saw them, he frowned, stamped his feet, and said softly, "Oops." After shouting, the other one giggled, tilted his head to one side of his body, bowed, and said to them, "Welcome." Mengping looked at the flight attendant who called, "Oh, what do you mean? Do you think we are trash that can be disliked?" The flight attendant had turned around and lowered her head. When Mengping saw her, his neck seemed to turn red. Mengping was confused, but he still didn't have an attack and walked over. Since there were only two of them in the first-class cabin, the two of them just sat together without looking at the seat numbers. After sitting down, they continued their previous conversation in the first-class lounge. When the two men were together, they naturally talked about grand topics. They reviewed the Asian financial crisis, the catastrophic Yangtze River flood in 1998, and looked forward to the return of Macau at the end of this year. Mengping thought, so to speak, Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan will soon transform from a Japanese devil to a resident of the Special Administrative Region. The two of them even looked forward to the upcoming year 2000. The plane took off and after it stabilized, Mengping saw the two stewardesses pushing each other. They both seemed to be trying to push each other away, asking the other to serve him, as if they were two gods of plague. In the end, it was the same oops who said ouch again, holding the tray with tea, coffee, and coke. She came over and asked Mengping what he needed with a big smile. Mengping talks about tea. Okay, she poured tea for Mengping and said to him, "Sir, please use it slowly." After saying that, she turned around and left, wiggling her hips and ignoring Lao Ni. "Is this too much?" Mengping looked at Lao Ni, but Lao Ni was laughing. Thank you Lao Chantang for the tip. Thank you Zibei Kangsheng Edison, book friends 2017101218473696 and book friends 201811241834235118 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1086. Do you know her? Mengping asked Lao Ni. Lao Ni smiled and said, we know, we know. Mengping understood. If he didn't know her, the little girl wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous. Mengping looked at Lao Ni, wanting to wait for him to continue speaking, but Lao Ni refused to speak. Mengping stood up and walked to the meal preparation room in front. Two stewardesses were preparing their lunch. After Mengping walked over, both of them looked at him. One of them asked, "Sir, what can I do for you?" Oops looked at him, but lowered his head, as if he knew he was coming for her. Mengping asked, "Oh, what's going on with you and my friend?" Ouch's face instantly turned red, and he said ouch again, turned around, and ducked into the bathroom, where another person was laughing. Mengping asked her, what happened to them? The flight attendant looked at the closed bathroom door and asked Mengping, you don't know? Mengping shook his head and said, I don't know. The flight attendant came closer to Mengping and whispered, your friend likes her and has been chasing her for 3 days. Today is the 4th day. He will follow us wherever we go. They are all first class. The air ticket should be all the money. There are tens of thousands of them, almost covering all the cities in China. I'm going, Mengping couldn't help shouting. The stewardess quickly hissed. Mengping couldn't help but laugh, and the stewardess also laughed. Mengping thought to himself, unexpectedly, this old comrade Ni is still a lover. No wonder he said that he was still in Xi'an in the morning, and he was following someone else's plane. After laughing enough, Mengping asked, if you arrive in Nanjing today, are you still flying? The stewardess shook her head and refused to fly. Where will your crew stay at night? Mengping asked. The other party hesitated, wondering whether he should tell Mengping. Is it the Jinling Hotel? Mengping asked. The other party nodded. What's your name? Mengping asked. What? The other party became alert. Mengping quickly explained, I didn't mean anything else. Opposite the Jinling Hotel, is the tallest building in Nanjing, do you know? Certainly. I'm the boss of that building. The other party looked at him, doubtful, and Mengping said, I am telling you this, I don't mean to show off, I just want to tell you that I am a good person, with a name and a company, and I am not a member of society. You don't have to be afraid. Mengping said, took out his business card and handed it to the other party. The other party looked at it and saw that Mengping's company was on the 52nd floor. He believed what he said. This boss likes to be at the top. The other party looked at Mengping with admiration, blushed slightly, and said to him, my name is Menjao. Okay, Menjao, look, can you do me a favor? What are you busy with? Menjao asked. My friend is also a good person, but the way of expression is a bit abrupt and will scare girls. So, can I treat you to a supper tonight? Mengping said, pointing towards the bathroom. Is he coming too? Menjao pointed towards the cabin, referring to Lao Ni. What she was thinking was that if there was no such old man, of course there would be no problem. But if he came, it would be a bit difficult. Yes, Mengping said, based on what I know about him, if there is no result in this matter, my friend will follow you every day. Don't think you can escape. He has friends in your airline. He knows all about your schedule, and there is no law that prohibits him from buying tickets and following you every day, And you can't stop selling tickets to him, right? Manjao nodded. But if it stays like this for a long time, will it affect your colleague's mood and directly affect her service quality? If it weren't for that friend of mine, I would have complained to her today. She doesn't care about anything on the plane or comes out to serve. It was born from Oya. Mengping said. Manjao couldn't help but giggle. But just because I don't complain doesn't mean other guests won't complain, right? Manjao nodded repeatedly. If this is not done well, your boss will simply ground her out of fear of trouble. Therefore, I think the long-term pain is worse than the short-term pain. Let's solve this problem at once. If your colleague rejects my friend, that's it. If I explain the reasons clearly in person, my friend will give up. Wouldn't it be more beneficial if we all have dinner together and talk things out? That's true, Manjao said. Besides, it's not like they are alone together. We are also here. What do your colleagues have to be afraid of, don't you think? Mengping asked. Manjao thought for a moment and said, okay, I will do her work. You are so capable, you can definitely do it, Mengping said. It's settled, I'll wait for you in the lobby of Jinling Hotel at 10:30 in the evening. Manjao nodded and said okay, but it still depends on her. Mengping said, it's okay, I'm optimistic about you, you are so smart, you will find a way. Mengping returned to his seat, and Lao Ni asked, what were you doing? Pick up girls, Mengping said. Lao Ni suddenly became nervous and asked, which one are you going for? Mengping said, it's not the one who came to pour tea from the front, it's the other one. Lao Ni breathed a sigh of relief. Next, Oops never appeared again. Every time it was Manjao who came to serve them, Manjao smiled and nodded to Mengping every time she came out. Lao Ni sighed and said to Mengping, he said, you are still the best, it seems that you have already got it. Mengping smiled and said, yes, that's almost it. Lao Ni shouted, oh, if I were 20 years younger, no, I wish I were 10 years younger. You're not old now, are you in your 50s? Mengping asked. 55. Mengping patted Lao Ni's thigh and said to him, it's okay. Your little tadpoles are still vigorous and vigorous. It's okay to have another platoon. Lao Ni laughed. When Mengping and the others arrived at Nanjing Airport, Li Yang came to pick him up. When he saw Lao Ni, Li Yang was stunned for a moment. Why was there an extra person? He asked Mengping. Did he lie to you or were they deceived together? Lao Ni was confused after hearing this. Mengping laughed and said quickly, we met by chance at the airport. He is Mr. Ni, a friend of Zhang Chen and Zhang Ziyi, and of course, he is also my friend. Li Yang understood, and the two shook hands. Li Yang sent Mengping and Lao Ni to the Jinling Hotel, and he left first. After Lao Ni completed the check-in procedures, Mengping accompanied him upstairs. Mengping asked if he was hungry. If he was hungry, he would fill his stomach with a bowl of noodles and go out for supper at 10:30. Lao Ni said he wasn't hungry. Didn't he eat on the plane? Can you, old Ni, eat on the plane? Mengping said with a smile, that little girl never showed up, I think your old Ni has lost his soul. Lao Ni chuckled, and Mengping said, old Ni, be honest, why are you so brave? I heard that you chased her for 3 days, and traveled to every city in the country, chasing you as a member of their company. Celebrity, there is no one who doesn't know you. Lao Ni sighed and said, I can't help it. I saw her on the plane back to Hangzhou from Wuhan that day, and I couldn't pull out her eyes. I liked her no matter how I looked at her. To be honest, she just let go shit, I also thought it would be delicious. I asked her to give me her phone number, but she refused to give it to me. I wanted to give her a mobile phone, but she just refused to take it. I had no choice but to follow her. Awesome, Mengping said with a smile, This is the first time I've seen your method of chasing girls. I'm really knowledgeable. There is no way, Lao Meng, let me tell you, I really haven't had a good sleep or a good meal in the past few days. I can't close my eyes. Once I close them, all I see is her. There's really no way. Meng Ping shook his head. He thought that he and that woman were crazy enough, but he didn't expect that there was an even crazier one in front of him, and he was an old comrade. Lao Ni seemed to know what Meng Ping was thinking. He looked at him and said seriously, Lao Meng, I'm not afraid of your jokes. Not to mention a few years ago, just 2 years ago, you told me that I, Lao Ni, would become like this. I didn't believe it myself. What did I know at that time? I knew every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. I went to the factory at 0 o'clock and didn't go home until 9 o'clock in the evening. Every day was a factory. Apart from the factory, I couldn't think of anything else. But one day 2 years ago, when I was taking a shower, I saw that I had white hairs all over my body. Although there was only one hair, I suddenly panicked and felt that I was going to be finished. As a man, I was going to be finished. I couldn't use it. For a few years, I probably couldn't do anything even if I wanted to. What's the point of living? If I'm so busy every day, what's the point of making more money? Calculating my age, Lao Meng, I really panicked all of a sudden. You know, my father died at the age of 62. Even if I live, I don't have many years to live, let alone be a man. Lao Meng, I'm not afraid of your jokes. It's true. I sat in the bathroom that day and cried alone for a long time. It was on the second day that Lao Ni started to attack Chen Yakin. After he succeeded, Lao Ni had an unprecedented sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. He felt that he could still compete with young people, and it could even be said that, I still have an advantage. His advantages are money and status. Even Chen Yakin didn't know that for men, this kind of thing is addictive and out of control. Just a week after having sex with Chen Yakin, Lao Ni had sex with a second woman in the factory, the third was a little girl, and the fourth too. These women he did not say a word, and he gave them, they all accepted the money, and later they took the initiative to deliver it to their door. This made Lao Ni's confidence and lust suddenly expand. After several visits, Lao Ni was no longer satisfied with them. He has more goals and a broader perspective. After Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin started their business, Lao Ni had more capital. Now, he has handed over the factory to his daughter to manage. No matter what, he didn't even bother to ask about the profit of the factory. He has long disliked it, so what if it loses money? The factory has lost money for a year, but Ren Rongrong and the others can make it back in a week. Moreover, his daughter seems to be very motivated and hard-working. Looking at the reports and listening to other people's reactions, his daughter seems to be in charge of the factory in a more orderly manner than he is. Lao Ni is happy to be free and full-time pursuing his lost youth. Lao Meng, let me tell you the truth. When you reach my age, you will be able to understand the panic I am talking about. When this man reaches that age, he will not do it even if he says no. It is very meaningless to be a human being. It's really best to enjoy yourself in time, otherwise, you will be busy all your life and you won't know who you are busy for and why. Lao Ni spoke to Meng Ping seriously. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Xiaohu for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1087. At 10:30, when Meng Ping and Lao Ni went downstairs, they found that Menjao and Aya were already in the lobby. Although Aya had a straight face, he turned his head away when he saw them coming, but Meng Ping, you know, as long as you come, it means there is something going on, and what happens next depends on Lao Ni himself. Whether it succeeds or not depends on your own choice, but this matter should end today, Meng Ping thought. The four people walked out of the revolving door of Jinling Hotel. Menjiao pointed to the building opposite and asked Meng Ping, "Mr. Meng, does this building belong to you?" Meng Ping said yes. "Do you want to go to my office first?" "Okay," Menjiao shouted, then turned around and asked, "Ouch, are you going?" "Oops, does not sound, this is the default." The four of them walked to the opposite side, walked out of the gate of Jinling Hotel, crossed the zebra crossing, and arrived at the downstairs of Mengping building. Mengping and Lao Ni said that now the most high-end department store in Nanjing is here, which is better than the one in Shanghai. If it wants to be high-end, it is the people of Hong Kong who are in charge. This is telling Lao Ni, and it is also telling you that if you want something, come here and don't miss this opportunity. Sure enough, Lao Ni asked, "Oh, can we come here tomorrow? Just say what you want." Mengping almost laughed out loud. "Isn't this old Ni too short and fast?" "Ouch," he said softly, and moved from Menjiao's left side to Menjiao's right side, further away from Lao Ni. The four people entered the elevator. The elevator they entered was a sightseeing elevator. As the elevator went up, watching the city lights receding little by little, Menjiao sighed, "This building is really high." There was a dreamy accent in that voice. Mengping was right. He had basically fallen in love with a girl with such an accent. If he invited her to come for the second and third time, she would be very happy, but Mengping felt unmotivated. After having money, Mengping feels that many things have become easier. Whether it is a man or a woman, they all look at him kindly and their attitude towards him is friendly. He hardly needs to spend anything. If he is strong, there will be many beautiful women who will automatically get close to him, but Mengping is like this, simple things become boring in his opinion. He is not as panicked as Lao Ni. Women are not a necessity for him, let alone those dazzling and squeaking gifts that he wants to hang on to the tail of time. Mengping still missed that sigh, as if it was floating up from the bottom of a deep well. Although he knew that she was a liar and he was just a bullseye in her target, he still missed her and there was nothing he could do about it. And I firmly believe that among all the falsehoods, there will still be something real. A person's subconscious intimate actions will betray her. When falling asleep, the distance between two people in bed is their most real distance. When sleeping, whether with your back to back or face to face, that is the most real position. No woman who crawls into your arms in her sleep has planned it out. Even if you are the target of her target, she will still hesitate in her heart when she pulls the trigger. They arrived at the door of Mengping's office. Mengping took out the key from his bag and inserted it into the keyhole, but it couldn't be turned. He thought he had taken the wrong key, so he pulled it out and took a look. Yes, it was this one. When I inserted it again, the key still didn't move. Menjiao stared at him and said, "Are you a liar? This is not your office at all." Lao Ni had never been here before, and he couldn't tell whether this was Mengping's office. He looked at it and said, "Oh," and smiled awkwardly. Mengping quickly said, No, I'll call and ask." He handed his bag to Menjiao, turned on his phone, and pressed the speakerphone button to clear up their misunderstanding. After the phone rang twice, it was answered. Mengping said, "Hey, Xiao, why can't my office door be opened?" "Are you back?" Ye Yulan asked, "Why did you go to the office?" "Nonsense, I've returned to Nanjing, why don't I go back to the office?" "You're talking nonsense. You brought anyone into the company and recruited so many thieves? Why don't we change the locks?" Ye Yulan scolded. This was embarrassing. Not only Mengping was embarrassed, but the other people were even more embarrassed when they heard this. Didn't they become just anyone and become so many thieves? "Oh," she immediately turned around and walked towards the elevator. Menjiao put Mengping's bag into Lao Ni's hand and followed suit. Only Lao Ni stood there, smiling awkwardly. Mengping shouted hey, hey, and chased after him, turning off his phone while chasing. After entering the elevator, Mengping quickly explained to them, no, something happened in the company, some people just left, so they changed the locks, I just came back from outside, tomorrow, if you don't believe me, come over tomorrow morning. I will definitely be in the office. That one just now, is it your wife? Menjeo asked. No, Mengping said, it's my finance. I don't believe it. Which subordinate would talk to the leader like this? Menjeo looked at Mengping, or are you having an affair with her? Ambiguous, Mengping scolded, people in our company all talk to me like this. I am easy to talk to. No need to defend, I'm not your wife, nor your girlfriend. I don't care whether you are having an affair with her or not, Menjeo smiled. Mengping said, that's right, so I don't even have to lie. If you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it, right? Menjeo snorted and ignored him. Lao Ni stared at Aya. Aya turned her head and didn't look at any of them, but stared at the changing numbers in the elevator. What they were talking about seemed to have nothing to do with her. The four of them walked back to the courtyard gate of Jinling Hotel. Menjeo held Oya's hand and slowed down, as if she was not in a hurry to go to the revolving door. Mengping quickly said, let's go, take my car, the car is parked over there. Naturally, Menjeo and Aya walked in the direction Mengping pointed, which made Mengping relax and understand that these two people seemed to want to continue today. Mengping drove to Dalao Fang and asked for a box. The four of them sat down in the box. They were speechless for a moment. Mengping asked, oh, beauty, I don't know your name yet, please introduce yourself. Oh, he said angrily, what can I introduce? Her name is Fifei, Menjeo said. I know, I already knew her name was Fifei, Lao Ni said. Who wants you to know? Fifei glared at Lao Ni, who chuckled. Say, tell me, what's the point of following me all day long? Fifei yelled at Lao Ni. I like you, Lao Ni said. Do I want you to like me? Fifei scolded, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror, would I like you as an old man? Just as Lao Ni was about to say something, the box door opened, and the waiter brought them pots and dishes, as well as beer. Mengping asked the waiter to fill them up for everyone. After the waiter left, Mengping said to Lao Ni and Fifei, from now on, you just pretend that the two of us don't exist. If you want to argue, just argue, if you want to scold, we won't hear it. Come on, Menjeo, we'll pretend they don't exist, and we'll drink our own. Mengping raised his glass. Menjeo smiled and said yes. She raised her glass and clinked it with Mengping. Lao Ni and Fifei said, yes, I am a little older than you. You are as old as my father at all. How old are you? Fifei asked, 67 or 68. Lao Ni quickly said, no, I am only 55 years old. I can prove this, Mengping said. Go, drink your wine and mind your own business. Fifei glared at Mengping, turned around, and continued to shout to Lao Ni, so what if I'm 55, I'm 23, you tell me, I can compete with it. Is it disgusting to sleep with a man who is 32 years older than me? What are you thinking? Mengping thought that Lao Ni would be beaten to pieces by this girl, but Lao Ni's resilience and shamelessness really exceeded his imagination. It was probably because the little girl had played too much, which gave him immense confidence. He felt that there was a difference of 30 years. How old are we? Why can't we sleep together? The ones I sleep with are so different. For a 30-year-old woman, I still think she is old. Lao Ni waited for Fifei to finish her attack and said to her, you are right, we are more than 30 years apart, so what? You must have had a boyfriend. They are both young men. How are they? What's so good about it? I don't have my experience when you get in bed, and you don't have the money in your pocket when you get out of bed. They still want to cheat you and spend your hard-earned money, right? You sleep with and eat with me and you have to pay for it. He doesn't regard you as a treasure, but as a cash cow. To be honest, I have seen many people like this. I have no ability and can't make money. I think about it every day. Why are you spending your girlfriend's money and picking things up? Today I think you work too long, and tomorrow I think you're not around all the time. It's best that you serve him like an old mother. Yes, yes, that's right, my old boyfriend was like this, that scumbag, Menjeo shouted from the side. Lao Ni smiled and continued, actually, I have been following you these past few days. You think I am just following you, and I feel distressed. I know your hard work. Although it sounds nice to say it, stewardess, you can do it? Yes, isn't it the waiter's job? He has to laugh and be scolded. If you stay here for a long time, your feet will probably swell. Find a young man. I can guarantee you that even if you work so hard, he will still ask you to cook for him and wash clothes for him when you go home. He never knows how to be considerate of you and let you have a good rest. You are so tired that you don't even look like a human being. Now that we're in bed, I'll say something ugly. He wants you to treat him as professionally as a prostitute. Old man, you are so right, I almost made you cry, Menjeo shouted, and Fifei burst into laughter. It would be different if it were me. Let me tell you, if you follow me, I will buy you a house right away. You don't have to go to any classes. You can just stay at home. You can buy whatever you want and eat whatever you want. Whatever you want to eat, if you don't want to do it yourself, just hire a nanny. If one is not enough, I will hire 2 for you. If 2 are not enough, I will hire 3 for you. Mr. Meng can prove that he knows that I have this ability. Lao Ni was chattering endlessly, but Menjeo interrupted him, stop talking nonsense, let me ask you, will you divorce your wife for Fifei? Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. I haven't seen my wife a few times a year now. She just needs me to make arrangements for the rest of her life, Lao Ni shouted. What about you? Menjeo asked, staring at Meng Ping with burning eyes. What about me? Meng Ping asked. Would you do it for? Menjeo originally wanted to say it was for me, but she paused and said, for the woman you like, divorce your wife. No, Meng Ping said. It's boring, Menjeo snorted. Meng Ping smiled and said, I'm not even married, who am I going to divorce? Really? Menjeo exclaimed in surprise, almost rushing towards her, but Meng Ping subconsciously gave way. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1088. After finishing the midnight snack, Meng Ping drove back to the Jinling Hotel. After getting out of the car, the 4 of them stood there, looking up at the sky and at Meng Ping's building opposite. They hesitated, showing no intention of saying goodbye immediately. Lao Ni said, I'm so full. Let's go for a walk again. No one objected, and the 4 of them walked out of the gate of Jinling Hotel and onto Hanshong Road. Meng Ping pulled La Menjeo and told Lao Ni and Fifei, you go to the right, we go to the left, don't follow us. Menjeo smiled and said yes, we are a couple. She put her hand into Meng Ping's arm, and the 2 of them walked to the left. When they reached the end and were about to turn left to Zhongshan Road, they stopped and looked back. Lao Ni and Fifei were already walking along Hanshong Road. Getting farther and farther away from them, both Meng Ping and Menjeo laughed. Meng Ping said, is this taken? Menjeo sighed softly and said, as long as this man is shameless, there is probably no woman who cannot be moved. Meng Ping laughed, are you talking about yourself too? Menjeo asked back, are you going to be shameless? Meng Ping didn't dare to ring. The weather was a bit sultry and not a suitable night for walking. The two of them didn't go far. When they reached the intersection of Changjiang Road, they walked back. When they walked back to Hanshong Road, Lao Ni and Phi Fei had disappeared. They walked back to the courtyard of Jinling Hotel and reached the steps at the entrance. Meng Ping stopped and did not continue walking up. Menjiao and Meng Ping said, "When we came, the standard rooms were no longer available. Tonight, we are sharing a room. Do you want to go up to my room and sit there?" The meaning of these words was already obvious. Meng Ping shook his head and said, "No, I just came back from a business trip today and I am a little tired. I'd better go home early." Menjiao was stunned for a moment, then sighed and said, "Okay, bye." He turned around and went up the steps and entered the revolving door. Meng Ping walked to the parking lot, got in the car, started the car, and walked out of the courtyard of Jinling Hotel. At midnight in Nanjing, there were few vehicles on the streets. Meng Ping pressed down the car window. The wind coming in from outside the car was still hot. Meng Ping thought that at this time, if he looked down in front of the floor-to-ceiling glass in his office, he should see you can track your own car as it travels through the streets of this ancient city. However, he didn't know how far he could chase it, and he could never know. One cannot look at one's own shadow and run away. The next day, Meng Ping went to the company. Ye Yulan and Cao Ziahe were already here and saw him. Cao Ziahe handed Meng Ping a new set of keys and told him that it was a new lock. Ye Yulan handed him a paper box. Meng Ping opened it and took a look. Inside was a set of official financial seals and corporate seals. Ye Yulan said that the set of seals had all been invalidated. The industrial and commercial offices and banks had already done so. The procedures have been completed and a new seal has been activated. You should also keep the old one. Meng Ping smiled and said, "As for that." Ye Yulan glared at him and said, "Of course, all the seals are in other people's hands, and you don't know what they stamped out. Fortunately, this is a criminal case. During this period, if there is anything or if a debt arises, you can directly report it here, and the police can help you find out." Meng Ping thought about it and realized that what Ye Yulan said made sense. Although they were caught and stopped when they were applying for the pledge, I really don't know if they took their own seals and stamped any EIS or other guarantees. Go out. Ye Yulan gave the new seal to Meng Ping and told him that no matter who he hired in the future, he would keep the official seal and legal person seal with him. Don't leave it all to the finance department. The finance department would issue checks and so on. If you use the corporate seal, just ask you to stamp it. Also, the content of the things stamped by you must be filled in clearly, and you can read it clearly. You also immediately establish a record of the use of this official seal. Every seal, what is stamped, and who handled it must be recorded. Cao Ziahe said, "Yes, the person you recruited is not Xiao, you can't just leave it to her." Ye Yulan curled her lips and said, "I also transferred a few million out." Does Lao Meng, a dead man, know that? He just knew how to rush forward, so he couldn't care about this. What Ye Yulan was talking about was that she transferred millions and set up a small treasury in Haikan. Meng Ping chuckled. Cao Ziahe said, "Fortunately you transferred the money, otherwise we would not be able to turn around." "So what, it's not a violation of financial discipline?" Ye Yulan said, "Every company's finances are like this. Lao Meng, remember, the boss is tight, and everyone will treat discipline as discipline. Be cautious, if the boss doesn't care about anything, it will definitely be riddled with holes in the end. Lao Meng, do you understand?" Okay, I understand," Meng Ping said. "Don't be immodest," Cao Ziahe scolded, "you are making money in the front, but if there is a nest of rats in the back, what's the use of making more money? You're not all feeding the rats." Meng Ping smiled bitterly and said, "Okay, I understand. I accept your education with an open mind, sincerity and seriousness. Can you two ants do it without me?" Looking at your playful face, you just don't have one Cao Zia, he said. Qian Fang said, if you do this again, your financial rights will be taken away. Let me supervise you here. Ye Yulan giggled, then you will be in trouble, Lao Meng, you have to pay for a pack of cigarettes. I agreed. Okay, show mercy, Meng Ping quickly handed over his hand. He thought of one thing and asked, by the way, are the rest of the 5 million still there? Have we made money? I'm making money off of you, Ye Yulan scolded, what are you thinking? 5 million is stolen money. We have transferred all the money to the police. For the money we have used, the police will pay back how much money we can get back when the stolen money is returned for you. Ye Yulan and Cao Zia became angry again thinking of this, and they were about to start scolding again. Meng Ping quickly said, okay, I didn't say anything. Qian Fang, Su Jiaking, and Li Yang walked in from the door. When Meng Ping saw it, his head was pounding. This was a formation for a criticism meeting. Qian Fang looked at Meng Ping and felt sad. She sighed and said, okay, I'm fine. Just come back safely. Did you know that the police also told us that if you really go out with them, you may even disappear abroad? You stupid. Let's go to the conference room and talk about the land. The expected criticism meeting did not start. Meng Ping took a long breath and said quickly, okay, let's go talk about work. When they arrived at the conference room, Meng Ping told them his idea in detail. The land area was not large. In a downtown area like Xinjiang, if an independent shopping center was to be built, it would not be large enough. The building part is too small, so it can only be developed higher up and built into a 60-story high-rise. However, if it is a project, it will be a bit awkward to have a solitary high-rise. Therefore, Meng Ping believes that the competition for this land will not be very fierce and the price will not be very high. It is appropriate to get it by himself. First, he can negotiate cooperation with Jinling Hotel. Meng Ping is also confident that he can negotiate. Consider this building as the second phase of the Jinling Hotel, with part of it used as a hotel and part of it used as an office building. Another plan is to connect it to my current project through a cross-street overpass. This will completely change it. It is no longer an isolated building, but an expansion of my project, or in other words the second phase is also available. Qian Fang, Su Jiaking, and Li Yang all felt that Meng Ping's idea was good, could be advanced or retreated, and could be implemented. Qian Fang said, Lao Meng, please first find out whether the Jinling Hotel itself has the possibility of acquiring this land. No, I've already understood it, Meng Ping said. Now the city government wants to sell every piece of land, collect the money, and give it to its subordinate departments, so it will lose a piece of financial resources. Otherwise, this land will also be lost, it won't end up in the collection center. The door of the conference room opened, and Ye Yulan and Meng Ping said, Old Meng, someone is looking for you. Who? Meng Ping asked. He came from Hangzhou, and he said his surname was Ni. Ye Yulan and Cao Zia he had never met Lao Ni before, and they didn't know who he was. Qian Fang had met Lao Ni. She looked at Meng Ping, and Meng Ping said to her, Mr. Ni, the one who posts the splendid Jiangnan, happened to be on a plane with me last night. Qian Fang understood. She and Meng Ping both stood up and walked out. They saw Lao Ni and Fei standing outside with large and small bags in their hands. The two people had obviously been shopping in the mall below all morning. They came up look at Meng Ping. Qian Fang didn't know who Fei was. Seeing the two of them looking like this, she thought they were Lao Ni's daughters. Qian Fang said, Oh, Mr. Ni, is this your daughter? Your daughter is so beautiful. Fei's face turned red, she smiled slightly and said nothing. Lao Ni neither denied nor admitted, he smiled. Meng Ping stood aside, unable to explain, and he didn't know how to explain. After everyone had lunch together, Qianfang and his troops all retreated to their company. Lao Ni asked Meng Ping to borrow a car and took Phi Fei to Sun Yat-sen Mausoleum. During dinner in the evening, Meng Ping didn't see Menjao. He asked Phi Fei, where was Menjao? Phi Fei glanced at him and complained, you didn't stay with me. She left on the plane in the afternoon and has to go to work the day after tomorrow. Meng Ping smiled and asked curiously, don't you have to go to work? She no longer goes to work, Lao Ni said from the side. Lao Meng, you will have someone take us back to Hangzhou tomorrow. Meng Ping said yes and was thinking that once this old comrade made his move, it was really simple and quick. It seemed that the panic he said was true. He was really racing against time. After Lao Ni took Phi Fei back to Hangzhou, he did not break his promise. He actually bought a house from Lu Ligan and gave it to Phi Fei, so that Phi Fei could settle down in Hangzhou. What surprised Meng Ping was that the next time he saw Lao Ni in Hangzhou, there was another person beside Lao Ni, and that was Menjao. Lu Ligan told him that Lao Ni also bought a house for her. It seems that I will prepare a building to sell to Lao Ni specifically. This will be convenient for him to run up and down and invite everyone to play mahjong. A little. Meng Ping laughed. When Menjao and Phi Fei, two former stewardesses, held Lao Ni's arms, Lao Ni's face was red and proud. Meng Ping didn't know if he was still panicking. Lao Ni later did another big thing, that is, he bought a Prime Minister No. 1. When this plane worth more than 60 million yuan landed at Hangcheng Airport, Lao Ni quickly became a national celebrity. A newsmaker in the media, he became the first private entrepreneur in the country to buy a private jet. Meng Ping saw that in the photos one after another, the person standing with Lao Ni was sometimes Phi Fei and sometimes Menjao. The two of them look very similar. Thank you for your monthly votes from Arongta Culture Ading, Pai Wuzun, and Purple Po. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1089. After the college entrance examination, Xiao Zhao's sister Xiao Fang came to Hangzhou with her younger brother Xiao Shu. Xiao Zhao asked her how she did in the college entrance examination. Xiao Fang said, it seems okay. Are you applying to Zhejiang University? Xiao Zhao asked. Xiao Fang nodded and said yes. Lu Ligan heard this and said from the side, quickly, Xiao Fang, I'll take you to sit in my office. Xiao Fang looked at Lu Ligan and then at her sister. Her sister also looked at Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan said, my place is the office of the first president of Zhejiang University. If you have any questions, go and talk to the guy with pigtails. A man said, look at Zhejiang University and they dare not admit you. Everyone laughed. Lu Ligan really dragged Xiao Fang and was about to go to his office, but Tan Shehen held him back. Zhang Chen said that it would be great if Xiao Fang was admitted to Zhejiang University. Xiao Zhao smiled and said, how is it okay? At least we have someone who is really from Zhejiang University, Zhang Chen said. Everyone laughed again and looked at Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan and Xiao Fang said. Xiao Fang, then I am your senior. I am from Zhejiang University. Tan Shehen scolded, how shameless. After not seeing each other for half a year, Xiaoshu's painting is now decent. It seems that he Hongmei's classmate is a good teacher. After arriving in Hangzhou, Xiaoshu fell in love with the lakeside oil painting gallery and went there every day to copy. Zhang Chen asked Yao Fen to teach him by the way. Yao Fen said that when I took the school entrance examination, it was always a big problem for me, so he asked me to teach him. Isn't that misleading? Zhang Chen said, your level and ability are superior to many people, and even more so now. Your academic articles can be published in fine arts and have been translated abroad. Even professors at the Academy of Fine Arts, how many people can do this? Besides, you, the curator, now attend events on an equal footing with other deans and principals. Who dares to look down upon you? What school you can go to can explain certain problems, but it cannot explain all the problems. How many of the paintings in our collection were painted by painters who have never attended an art academy? When Zhang Chen said this, Yao Fen was also happy. She giggled and asked, boss, in that case, is it more than enough for me to teach him? More than enough, Zhang Chen said. When you feel that you can't teach him, then this guy will be very powerful. Okay, boss, Zhao Xian and I will take him with us every day, Yao Fen said. Zhang Chen himself would go over and teach Xiaoshu painting when he had time. Xiaoshu admired his brother-in-law very much. He felt that there were many problems that he couldn't understand and the teacher couldn't explain. His brother-in-law only needed to once demonstrated, he understood everything. What he didn't know was that all the problems he encountered were also encountered by Zhang Chen. For a child in a ravine at that time, he was the only one in town who could paint oil paintings. Who could he ask? I just had to figure it out on my own. It was like opening a window, and I suddenly understood everything. Xiaoshu likes to stay in the oil painting studio. Xiao Zhao bought him a bicycle. When he gets up every morning, he goes to the oil painting studio with a painting folder on his back and doesn't come back until dinner time in the evening. Zhang Xiangbei followed him there twice. In the middle, he was clamoring to come back. He felt that this oil painting studio was really not fun, and this uncle didn't seem to be as interesting as before. The biggest advantage of Xiaoshu in the oil painting museum is that in addition to copying works, he can also increase his knowledge. Every day, professors from the Academy of Fine Arts and painters from all over the country come to the oil painting museum. Yao Fen and Zhao Xian, when receiving them, would take Xiaoshu with them. Xiaoshu listened to them talking and watched their comments on each work. Unknowingly, he learned a lot. Zhang Chen's villa in Dehuayuan has been renovated, but the family only stayed there for one Saturday, and no one wanted to live there. His parents had to drive south to north to school and kindergarten every day. How could they possibly live there? So far away? After the summer vacation, Zhang Xiangbei will go to Baokuta Experimental School to enter the first grade. It is even more impossible for them to live there. Parents of students who live far away have to stay close to the school for their children to go to school. Rent a house, not to mention they live next to the school. Zhang Chen's mother scolded, "This pole, the house is so well built, but I don't know how to build a vegetable market. If I live there, I have to buy vegetables, and I have to go to the city. There are no buses or taxis in the city. If this is the case, we might as well live back in the countryside in Yongcheng." Zhang Chen's father also said that living in the countryside of Yongcheng, you can still grow vegetables and have acquaintances, but you can't do anything there. A villa is almost like being in jail. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao laughed. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao also thought that Peach Blossom Spring was too far away. It took them 40 minutes to drive every day. Wherever it was like here, they could reach the company in less than 10 minutes. Moreover, drive from Huapeo Road to the bottom of the Qiantang River Bridge and turn onto Zhejiang Road. From here to Zhejiang Road at the three-way intersection in Dehuayuan, it is a section of National Highway 320. It is the main thoroughfare in and out of Hangzhou. It was a big truck, which made the road full of potholes and dilapidated, and it needed to be repaired from time to time. Once the road was repaired, it was normal for that section to be jammed for an hour or two. Lin Shuwen and Han Emperor Liu Bang often complained to them that they could walk there, but the cars just wouldn't move. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan said that your villa was just for viewing. It was of no use. Even Lin Shuwen does not live there now. She would rather live in the office above the photo studio. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, also lived there. In the bowling alley, or sometimes, staying in Xiaosha factory, but no longer going to Peach Blossom Spring. Lu Ligan said, I don't care about you. The house has been sold. It's your business whether you can live in it or not. It's none of my business. If you see it, I will be wise. I live by the Meisi River, but there is no room for me there. In the next building, the offices were not placed there either. Is it your wise choice not to put the office there? Zhang Chen asked. Lu Ligan smiled and said, joint decision-making, that is our company's joint decision-making. Seeing them like this, Chu Tianlin and Wei Wenfang were even more grateful that they had never lived there for a day. Wei Wenfang said, but the feeling is still different. There is still a difference between having and not having this villa. If you don't live in it, no matter how simple you live here, or even rent a house, you still feel that it is nothing, and you feel very calm. No, if I still rent a house in the city, I feel very homeless and insecure. It's like parents. If your parents are here, you won't see them even once a year, but you feel complete. If your parents are not there, you will feel like half of yourself is missing every day. Look, do you hear it? The truth is always told by Wei Wenfang, Lu Ligan shouted. Zhang Chen and the others refused to live in a villa. Even Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan themselves refused to live in the townhouses by the Meisi River after they were renovated. They still lived above Zhang Chen and the others, saying it was just a habit. Yes, it is convenient to live here. Zhang Chen joked, then I have to collect rent. Lu Ligan said okay, or simply, how about we replace the 2 townhouses with your 2 houses? When Xiaofang and Xiaoshu came, Xiao Zhao let Xiaoshu sleep in the guest room and gave Xiaofang the room where he Hongmei originally lived. Zhang Chen's parents also liked Xiaofang very much. Zhang Chen's mother kept saying, Xiaofang, it would be great to be admitted to Zhejiang University. You can come back for lunch at noon. Then there will be something delicious in the school cafeteria. When Xiaofang came, the happiest people were Xiongnan and Xiangbei. Xiaofang took the initiative to take care of them. Not only would she accompany them to learn piano and badminton, but she would also help Xiongnan with his homework. When Xiangnan and Xiangbei were playing in the arena, she went to Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao to surf the internet. Zhang Chen bought Xiaofang a laptop. Xiaofang liked it very much and took it with her wherever she went. Zhang Chen asked Zheng Huiyang to help him install an interface on the conference table and pull out a network cable so that Xiaofang could sit there and surf the internet when she came every day. During the summer vacation, their badminton training time increased from south to north. They trained 5 afternoons a week, so Xiaofang had 5 afternoons to surf the internet at Zhang Chen's place. She added Zheng Huiyang's MSN and asked Sister Zheng if she didn't understand. Sitting there alone, she actually made an English version of Zhang Chen's Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery website and promoted it. Yao Fen called Zhang Chen and said, "Great, several foreign art museums have seen our website and have written emails, saying they want to communicate and establish cooperative relationships. This summer, for Zhang Chen and the others, there are 3 major things. One is to wait for Xiaofang's notification, the other is to ensure that Target's goods are shipped on time, and the third is to try to pass the WCA factory inspection in one go." Originally, Jessica and the others arranged for WCA to come to inspect the factory a month ago. Zhang Chen pushed back the time. He told Jessica that they were not ready yet and were still making corrections. The most important thing was that labor compensation and insurance for one thing, the WCA required 3 months, but Zhang Chen and the others made up for it, and the 3 months did not come. They have to wait until they can produce 3 months of complete employee salary and insurance records that meet the standards, and then notify them to come for inspection. As for the labor protection of employees in the factory and the improvement of the management system, they have tried their best to improve it. The company has also set up a team to conduct an inspection every week in accordance with the requirements of the WCA to see if there is anything wrong. Loopholes. At the beginning, Zhao's Hegang and Zhao's Hailong had some objections to this kind of inspection, saying that it would make it difficult for them to rush out the goods. Anyway, it was still early for the factory inspection, so could they wait until the goods were shipped? Zhang Chen said no, let's do it now so that you can all develop a habit. Once you develop a habit, we are not afraid of even surprise inspections. Moreover, it is not only for you two to develop a habit, but also for every worker below. We all develop habits. Our factory must operate according to such standards. Okay, you are the boss, you have the final say, but when we rush the goods to the end, there are not enough people, so you have to find someone for us. Two people said. Zhang Chen said, same as when we first shipped Lin Shuwen's goods, I come to the factory to work by myself every day, is that okay? That's okay, Zhao Zhigang smiled. No matter how strict the discipline is, it is true that as long as you give people time to adapt and get used to it, it can still be done. But once you develop a habit, it won't be a big deal. Thank you Win Sanliu, Sidu Jiao who likes lobster, and Dal Tin Soldier for your tips. Thank you Win Sanliu, Fantasy in the Wind, Mei, Yuingzi, Love Purple Only, Shi Fangxian and Yuju for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1090. Zhang Chen was sitting in the office. When he saw Xiao Zhao coming in with someone, Zhang Chen quickly stood up and shouted, Sister Gihua. Xiao Zhao hugged Sister Gihua and said to Zhang Chen, I saw Sister down below, so I brought her up. Is there anyone like this who passes by here and doesn't even come up to see us? Zhang Chen said yes, Sister Gihua has never been here since we moved here. Xiao Zhao pulled Sister Gihua and sat down on the sofa. Sister Gihua smiled and said, it's not that I don't come, I always want to come and see you, even my mother, but it's Hagen who doesn't let us come. What's wrong with Brother Hagen? Why are you so domineering? Zhang Chen asked. Sister Gihua smiled and said, Hagen said he works here. If I come here often, it will be like going through the back door here to say good things to him, and he won't let us come. How can there be such a truth? Zhang Chen said, Brother Hagen is the general manager of the market below. Who else needs someone to say good things to him? He doesn't even know how much he has helped me. I don't need him at all in this market, he's in charge of worrying about it. Wait a minute, Sister Gihua, I'm going to call him and scold him. Scold, just scold him for why he didn't let my sister and aunt come here, Xiao Zhao said. Zhang Chen said he was about to make a call. Sister Gihua said with a smile, stop it now. If you want to hit me, I will run away. This Hagen, haha, you don't know. After becoming the general manager, his style also became bigger. That day I asked him if I could come downstairs and sweep the floor, but he got scolded. Sister Gihua said while laughing. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao knew that this scolding was not real, but... Sister Gihua, what are you talking about? You want to work in the market, what's wrong? Zhang Chen asked. Xiao Zhao also looked at her. Sister Gihua said, the hunky hotel was demolished, wasn't it? The units are gone. Not only the hunky hotel was demolished, but our home was also demolished. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao both looked at each other, and Zhang Chen asked, how did you arrange it? We have paid hundreds of thousands of yuan in compensation, and will be allocated 4 houses by then, but this job will be gone if we don't have it. It is not a formal unit in the first place, and the village has also moved out of the village and changed its residence. Of course, this job is no matter what, I couldn't stay idle at home, so I asked Hagen if I could come to the market to sweep the floor, but he scolded me, so I didn't want to do it anymore. Sister, why didn't you come to me? I can make arrangements here, Xiao Zhao complained. Sister Gihua and Xiao Zhao said, Sister won't come. Later I thought about it and realized what Hagen said makes sense. It's not good for these two couples to be in the same unit, let alone him being the general manager here. I'll sweep the floor. Then how can other people take care of me? Haven't I become the deputy general manager? Sister Gihua said and laughed. Zhang Chen remembered it and said, Sister, let me make arrangements for you, okay? You are not in my unit and have nothing to do with Brother Hagen. He can't control you even if he wants to. He can't let you out, let's work. As Zhang Chen spoke, he picked up the phone and told Lu Ligan, Gangzi, help me arrange for someone to go to your Mishai management office or the property management office of another community. Who is he, Zhang Chen? It's so important that you need to arrange it personally, Lu Ligan asked. Sister Osman thus fragrans. Who? Sister Gihua, Hagen's wife, her old hotel was demolished and she has no job. Come here, Hagen. Okay, I understand. I told Fan Jiangguo, no problem, you let Sister Gihua choose where is convenient for her to go. Before Zhang Chen finished speaking, Lu Ligan understood. He knew that Sister Gihua was too important to Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao, and he must make good arrangements. Zhang Chen said okay, then I will ask you clearly and then call you. Zhang Chen put down the phone, wrote down the locations of Lu Ligan's several projects, told Sister Gihua, asked her where it was convenient to go to work, and told her that you could go to any of the property management offices in these places. Sister Gihua waved her hands repeatedly and said, how can I go to work in such a high-end place because I am such a big boss? Xiao Zhao said, Sister, what is the senior level of this property management office? The nature of the work is similar to that of the Hunky Hotel where you used to be. When you were at the Hunky Hotel, you were just the person in charge. Even I was under your control. The property management office is responsible for the many sanitation workers down there, as well as plumbers, electricians, security guards, etc. Sister, you can definitely do it. Zhang Chen also told Sister Gihua, you can do it, there is nothing difficult. Really? Sister Gihua asked. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao nodded repeatedly. Sister Gihua said, let's go to Misi River, which is only a little way away from the original Hunky Hotel. Zhang Chen said yes, and he immediately called Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan said yes. Let Sister Gihua take up the post tomorrow as the director of the Misi River Management Office. I will make other arrangements for the original director. When Lu Ligan said this, Zhang Chen was startled. He lowered his voice and said, you will be the director as soon as you go. No need for a familiarization process. What are you familiar with? Can't I just send someone familiar to her to be her assistant? The character of people in this company is more important than their ability. Sister Gihua's character is definitely endorsed by you, Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao. No problem, other abilities can be cultivated. Your Zhao's Higang, Zhao's Hailong, and me, Lao Wan, don't have much culture. If they don't work well, they just need to strengthen their culture. Lu Ligan said. Zhang Chen also thought it made sense. He said okay, then I will let her go there tomorrow. I'll go to your place tomorrow. Tan Shahen and I will take her there and announce that with our escort, Sister Gihua will have no problem, Lu Ligan said and laughed. Zhang Chen said yes, then I'll leave it to you. Please, you have introduced a talent to me. Just watch it, Zhang Chen. You will definitely regret it when the time comes. Lu Ligan smiled and hung up the phone. Zhang Chen told Sister Gihua that she should be the director of the Misi River Management Office. Sister Gihua was frightened when she heard that. She quickly said, no, I can't do such an important job. Xiao Zhao quickly said, you can do it? Sister, you are so smart. I used to think that I couldn't even calculate the accounts of this family clearly. But now you see, it is not necessary to take care of the finances of so many places. Zhang Chen also said, Sister Gihua, you have no problem. The Pole will also assign an assistant to you. If there is anything unclear at the beginning, just ask the assistant. You can take care of the real estate and attractions in Meisi River. Just be the room manager of the Red Flag Hotel, what's the problem? Zhang Chen looked at Xiao Zhao and said, you are too humble. You always take care of the family's accounts. You even know where to go to have a good meal. Sister Gihua laughed after hearing this, and Xiao Zhao stared at Zhang Chen. Sister Gihua said, should I discuss it with Hagen first? It's not about discussing, it's about informing him. You have to go to work tomorrow and don't have much time to serve him, so just inform him about this, Zhang Chen said. Zhang Chen picked up the phone, dialed a few numbers, and told Hagen on the other side of the phone, come to my office. After a while, Hagen ran up and walked to the door. He saw Sister Gihua sitting in Zhang Chen's office. He was stunned for a moment. Before he could speak, Xiao Zhao called. Brother Hagen, tell me honestly, why didn't you let my sister and aunt come to see me? If I hadn't met my sister on the road below, I wouldn't have known why she hadn't come here. Hagen scratched his head and smiled, women, just stay at home. Why do you run around outside when you have nothing to do? Okay, Brother Hagen, I didn't expect you to have such serious machismo ideas, Xiao Zhao said. Zhang Chen was smiling on the side. After Xiao Zhao finished speaking, Zhang Chen and Hagen said, Brother Hagen, I asked you to come up here just to inform you that Sister Gihua will take up a post at the Meisi River Management Office starting tomorrow. Monk Hagen Zhang was confused and looked at Zhang Chen, wondering what he was talking about. Zhang Chen continued. Sister Gihua is going to be the director of the Meisi Management Office tomorrow. As a director, she is on the same level as your general manager. Don't be dissatisfied. Sister Gihua and Xiao Zhao laughed, and Hagen said disdainfully, how can she be the director of a woman's family? When he said this, Sister Gihua became hardened and refused to admit defeat. She said, who said I can't be a player? If you say so, I will still be a player, and I will do it well. That's right, sister, even if we piss him off to death, we won't pay with our lives, Xiao Zhao said. It was decided that Sister Gihua would become the director of the Meisi River Management Office. Zhang Chen thought of another thing and asked, by the way, Brother Hagen and Sister Gihua, your house has been demolished, so where did you live? Did the government provide temporary resettlement? No, the government has given subsidies, so we can go to relatives and friends. We now live in Sanbeo, Sister Gihua said, it's the same house you lived in before. Zhang Chen looked at Hagen and complained, how can that be done? Brother Hagen, why didn't you tell me about this earlier? We still have a house here, don't you know? I just don't care about Sister Gihua, it's just you, the company as a senior executive, if something like this happens, the company should help arrange it. Yes, Brother Hagen, you are treating us like outsiders, Xiao Zhao also said, no, move here immediately. Sister Gihua said with a smile, no, you really can't blame Hagen. It's his cousin and cousin-in-law. As soon as they heard that our place was going to be demolished, they came over and insisted that we live in their house. They told everyone we are so lively together, and even if we want to move out, the couple will definitely not let go. Oh, you didn't see how happy his cousin was when we moved here. These two old cousins ate wine together every day and ate so enthusiastically. One meal lasted an hour or two. Food. Hagen chuckled, and Zhang Chen also remembered that where he lived, every time his cousin saw him, he would tell him to eat old wine. He didn't have time, and his cousin always had a look of disappointment in his eyes. Now that Hagen has gone over, he is of course happy to have someone to drink wine with him every night. Zhang Chen said, okay, I don't care. One day when I go to the factory, when it's dinner time, I'll come over and drink old wine. Boil it, Hagen said. Thank you Winsonliu, for reading the book every day, ranking third from top to bottom, and 131 on the shore for the reward. Thank you Kingbo, Tang Wei, Fan Fan, and Murin for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life.